super busy.
Let me give you a little background story.
Yeah.
I've been here now 28 years, somewhere, give or take a little. And there are a couple of things that people always, either when they first call or they walk out of here. What happens when I leave? About 15 pre-COVID years ago, we tried to do an online program to help people, and it just wasn't time. We had to take Tenny downtown Abilene. There wasn't this remote virtual world we live in post-COVID. So fast forward to now. We are recognizing there are a couple of things. One, when people walk out of a facility, short-term, long-term, this facility, somewhere else,
And when you say facility, like you're
a
talking
treatment
about
center.
a treatment center or kind of somewhere to take a break.
Yeah, a retreat, a treatment center, maybe even their weekly therapeutic appointments. What do they do in that in-between time of a therapy appointment? Or what do they do when they walk out doing for us, for Shades of Hope, we do short-term programming. What do we do now when we get home? There hasn't been a consistent quality program other than some of the community events that we do to allow people to continue with their own work. So we have created the Shades of Hope online program. Now, with it's modules that you get, it's things you can go back. That's the other thing people would say, oh man, to listen to that lecture Tenny gave, or Kim gave, or Karen gave. Oh, I wish I could sit and hear that again now that I've been home for 3 weeks, 3 months.
Right.
That's what we're offering people. We also are recognizing that in today's chaotic times, not everybody can make a trip to Buffalo Gap, Texas.
Right.
Or not everybody can go to a high dollar treatment center.
Right.
Even if they have insurance, the copay drains them. So that's the other purpose of the online, just to give people an opportunity to get some grounding in their lives of where their feelings come from or why they react the way they act, or what is this anger that I consistently feel even though I've been sober and abstinent for 200 years.
Right.
There's still chaos. There's still within me. I don't mean there's always going to be chaos around us in the world. But it's that chaos and anger with me that's just below the surface. And my kids say something and I might snap. I come home, my spouse says something, I snap. I go to work and my supervisor says something.
Right.
It's not good to snap at your supervisor.
Career limiting move.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have done that.
Yes.
So that's where we've come from, and that's one of the primary things we've been busy with is the online creation. The other thing is creating some more of our short-term programming, like a 3-day where you're here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, specific to a issue that you might be having. A lot of us are going through grief. I know friends that have just gotten laid off.
Yep.
That's a grief. It's a loss of job. I know people that have been alienated from their churches, i.e. church hurt on the online program. For whatever reason, they're through a divorce. Maybe they're gay. Maybe, they're an addict and they've been told you're sinning because you're drinking all the time.
Right.
That alienation from church. There are others, for me, I lost a beloved animal in January. And I'm kind of getting there, but he got me through a lot. He got me through a lot.
Yeah, grief is grief. It sounds like in any form.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a loss of a person
No.
necessarily.
And some of us always think grief, loss of a loved one. It's not that. It's a loss of a relationship. It's the loss even for some who maybe their partner or their child is now saying, I'm an alcoholic. When we go to family events now, I'm going to request, don't offer me a drink.
Right.
For spouse relationships, sometimes that was part of their relationship, not getting drunk. I'm not saying that. But going to a favorite restaurant and maybe having a favorite drink together. There's a grief there that you don't get to enjoy that with your spouse anymore.
Right.
There's that true grief. That's what we're talking about.
And is there, part of the online is to capture a, a program that's been existing for how long?
Shades of Hope has now been here 37 plus years. And taking the work, the uniqueness of it. Not that everything we do is unique to Shades of Hope. Yes, we teach the 12 steps. That's not unique to Shades of Hope. But we were a maverick. Tenny was a maverick when we started this place of treating food as an addiction back when nobody wanted to look at the compulsive overeater.
Right.
Now, fast forward. Now we even have culturally correct terms, binge eating disorder. We break that cycle and don't pass down those things that didn't work in our household, the abuse issues, the shaming issues, the bullying issues, all of that to our children. It takes one person in a family to begin to break the addictive cycle, and others will fight you on it. They will darn well fight you on it because they're in that routine. They know how to act, they know how to dance, they know when they walk into this situation, it's going to change, and change creates fractures. But most of the time, those fractures is what brings healing, not just to the individual, but to the family or the business environment as well.
It, the when do people call you normally? What part in their journey do you find the most people call and want to come because are they burned out? Are they exhausted? Are they over caregiving? Do they have an addiction that they tried to fight on a couch of a therapy environment for week over week? Who normally comes?
All of the above. We have those that have been sober and abstinent. And when I use abstinent, I mean I'm not using food. We all associate sobriety with alcohol and drugs,
Right.
but have been sober and abstinent and working a program, as we call it, in the halls of the 12 steps. But there's still that unresolved issues, trauma. It could be your parents telling you you're a worthless piece of you know what all your life. That's trauma. We have those. We have those that have tried other programs, gone to other facilities. When I say facilities, treatment programs. But they've never gotten down to that root. That root that's planted in the soil that wasn't nourishing. So you got to dust away the soil, get down to the root, and then begin to add new soil. There are simple things that you can do experientially with those. I have those. I have those that have been shamed, not just because they're over fat or overweight by somebody else's standards, but under, or they're over exercising, but usually when they call to your question, it's when they're just tired. They're just tired and they want to get off the hamster wheel.
I think that's how we met.
That is how we met. It wasn't working for you anymore,
was
and you
not.
knew there had to be something better.
Right. And what I heard was flexibility when I came. And then the thing that I think, because you answered the phone, and so I can probably speak directly to that conversation, which is, I think what I said to you was, my kids and my husband are outside and they're having a great time, and I should be feeling a lot of joy. And I feel nothing. Like I am burned out, I'm exhausted. My story will tell a different day, but we had some things that we couldn't control happened, and my way of coping was working. It was using, whatever was in front of me. It would still not solve the core pain that I was experiencing. And what I felt was acceptance. I mean, that is the first thing, the gift that you gave me was you can be at any point in your life and still walk through the door and there's no judgment. And I was fiercely judging myself before I came in. And what I heard was you don't have to keep doing this. You're not always the one that has to be the rescuer or the savior within a problem set. I'm burned out. I'm just working too much. I just need a break. And I think what you said was perhaps there might be more to the story. And I was familiar with I should feel better. I was familiar with I have to work. Like that should be giving me wonderful accolades, which it was. All these things I was experiencing in pain were working in a work environment, but it was killing me personally because I wasn't getting rest and recharge. I wasn't balanced at all. So if somebody were to be listening and they called and said, I'm 46, I've got 3 kids at home, I don't know what's going on, I have no time and I'm not happy. Ever get any of those phone calls?
I get a lot of those. And I kind of, frankly, I have a series of, in my mind, questions. But first and foremost, I really try to listen to the person. Around here, we have a saying: we are each uniquely different, but we are uniquely the same. But it's those unique differences. There are differences in our stories. And I think I always kind of try to get an understanding of, did you always want those kids? Some people, no, I kind of got them. Or maybe they're my bonus kids. Um, are you feeling fulfilled anywhere in your life? Or have you lost something in your life? Or let's go back to how you were raised. What were the expectations when you were a child? How did you feel about that? And when I get to the feeling part of it, that's when you really start to uncover. Because there are lots of people, and I always refer to my own story, they can't identify a feeling.
I think that's pretty common. You know, as an adult, we've been taught to be frustrated, but is that actually a feeling?
Frustration is a form of anger. I always used to say I was frustrated. And I learned here that frustration is a form of anger. Now, somewhere in my life, I don't know where I picked it up, that you're not supposed to be angry. And I think it's because we associate anger with violence. And we were told in my home, violence was not a way to solve a problem. So I never allowed myself to use that word anger. And then I never allowed myself to tell people I was lonely. Well, how can you be lonely in a room full of people?
Totally possible.
You know, I was the youngest of 3, and my older siblings, both of them, excelled. Then there's little Cammy. Now, for my own personal story, and I know it's not near compared to anybody else's, not that we try to compare, but some people listening to this will go,
That's
big
nothing.
deal,
That's
Cam.
nothing. Look at my story. Yeah.
We found out I couldn't hear. I was the one that came home from school, and please, Lord Jesus, let her bring home a D. It's at least passing. And you have to understand, my brother, he was like third in his class out of 380 people in Amarillo High School. I mean, the guy's brilliant. Well, put a slap of hearing aids on her at age 16, and oh my God,
So you've been dealing with that for
50 years.
50 years. Yeah.
Oh my God.
A whole new world.
Yeah. If you've ever been in band or orchestra, you'll understand this. My band director, Mr. Wells, Falco, play under the violins. I played the trumpet, and I'd be like, what does he mean, play under the violins? And I'd just mark my music softer. I will always remember the first day I went into practice. It wasn't with the orchestra, it was with the band. And he said something about the flutes. And for the first time, literally, I understood what the man meant. I could hear the flutes. That's what he's been trying to tell me all these years. I had to learn to adapt. I still carry those feelings of little stupid Cam, of you, not that my parents ever said it to
Sure.
me, but I felt it. Well, Cam better learn a trade. Cam better learn this. Cam, you know, because she'll never get it academically. No one ever said that to me, but it didn't take an Einstein for it not to integrate into me. So
Sure.
even today, I'm 69 years old, maybe 68, who's counting? But there are still times when I'm challenged with tasks
Yeah.
and I get frustrated, i.e., angry, because I'm back as that little Cammy.
It re-triggers an old wound. Some of that
Oh,
stuff re-triggers old
wounds.
wounds.
And that's what this work is about. But you've got to identify it. Then you've got to work through the process here of going down to those old wounds. And will you walk out of here in 5 days, 3 days, and some of our other programming, and it'll all be healed and it'll never affect you again? No.
No.
However, and I use me as an example because I don't get in trouble for speaking about my own. I can step back now and be like, where's that coming from? You're not little Cam anymore. You've never been taught how to set up a podcast. It's a learning moment, and you are smart enough, you are enough to learn this. Just ask the questions.
Right.
And
Get
the
humble.
outcome is totally different.
Yeah. I find that, when you come through here, the acceptance is the big gift, but also the community is a bigger gift. So, talk a little bit about what the experience is here when people come in.
Well,
With what you don't want to give away, because some of it's just magic
Yeah.
and we can't talk about it like Fight Club. It doesn't happen.
For my alumni, they're going to go, yeah, right. And they have to understand if you were here through 3 years past, we were used to be very structured, um, very schedule oriented. You came in, you gave me your phones, your computers, your laptops. You didn't have access to the outside world if you would without permission. Turning to short-term programming, we backed off of that. Yes. Now, when you still come in on a Sunday for one of our week-longs, I'm going to ask you to turn all that in unless you've talked to me in the past. I'm going to use you, for example, that
Yep.
came back for an intensive. You had a very important business obligation you had to meet on a Tuesday morning,
Right.
and we talked about it. Okay, I told the team, Chrissy's going to be out Tuesday morning because she's got to make this work.
And
She has obligations.
right. Whereas before, in years past, you
No.
just said, bummer deal. This is the process. We need you to be in it because you want us to get the lesson. It's not as a punishment, but what happens when you're trying to get to core work? Do people ever use those things as distractions?
Yes, and that's the reason we ask. And that's the reason before you come in, don't drop it on me at registration.
Right.
Tell me beforehand. Because there is kind of like a lesson plan. Here are the generic programming for the week. Now, within that lesson plan, especially you all that are teachers, I may have little Chrissy over here, or I may have little Johnny, or I may have Ben over here, and they may have special circumstances that within my lesson plan I have to adapt for. And that's the reason you get a nice little thick packet of information to fill out and send back to us.
Right.
We've got to have a game plan, preferably. But
And
then
what you-
within that, we individualize.
So what you do is you ask some information up front
Absolutely.
to try to figure. So it's not a cookie cutter.
No.
If you're not have an alcohol problem, you have to sit through. This isn't a you fit the program. It's the program fits you.
Yes. Yes.
So you can figure out what might be the issue based on your experience and work towards
Well,
doing
it's kinda
individual
like-
care within a group setting.
I'm an old coach by trade. And you go into your first day in a gym and you start looking. Okay, this one has a pretty good skill set already here. This one has this, that one has that. Now I know where we want to get to, but you've got to look at the individual and work with the individual from there, if that's a good analogy.
Yes. We meet them where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Comes to mind. So if you
Yeah.
have someone, and the thing that I think people miss is that an addiction doesn't have to be a substance. It can also be, you can be addicted to a process, you can be addicted to social media, you can be addicted to all kinds of things.
You know, Tenny does a presentation, and I think it's on the online program. It's called the Umbrella of Addiction. Now, I'm not going to tell you that every maladaptive behavior is considered an addiction.
Sure.
It's a habit. A habit can become, I had the three of them the other day when I was talking to somebody. It can be a habit, it can become a crutch, or it can become an addiction.
And it doesn't ever
And it
get better
doesn't,
on its own.
no. But the umbrella of addiction explains that everybody assumes addiction is substance, you know, and that's where we think food is a substance. A lot of people don't believe us. But then there's the process addictions, your social media, your gambling, your porn, your sex, your love addiction. Now, again, I may have issues with relationships and I may go from one to the other. I'm not saying I have a love addiction, but something's going on underneath that I need to address to figure out why I keep jumping from one relationship to the other and they never seem to work. Whatever, and sometimes I know this is where Tenny and I have some challenges. Everything in an addiction. We all have behaviors we use to insulate and at times protect ourselves. It's when that healing mechanism or that thing that's working becomes the problem and takes over your life. Alcohol is the one people think about. Okay, I go out and have a beer tonight. I may not have another beer for 2 months. Okay. Some people start with that beer tonight. Oh, that really tasted good. So they end up drinking 4. Then the next night it's 6. And then they find themselves at work or with the kids or out running errands, and all they can think about, where's that next drink coming from? Then it begins to impact relationships. You've missed getting to work. Oh, late picking up the kids. Oops, I was passed out on the couch. And it's hard to look yourself in the eye because in the back of your mind, you know. But it's the admission and the surrender that I have a problem. And there's always, always, and I don't use that word often, something below the surface that hasn't
Just
been
like
dealt
right
with.
here, it's ready to come up.
That hasn't been dealt with, that you've got to deal with in a healthy manner.
So do you need, coming into an intensive or coming into Shades of Hope Online, do you need to know what that is?
No,
So all you need to know is that you don't feel
something ain't
good, you
right.
don't know why.
Something ain't right. Maybe I'm just, like I said earlier, maybe I'm just angry all the time. Maybe I'm not communicating with my kids well. Why are my kids, who are naturally trying to fly the nest as teenagers, triggering me so much? Why does my boss walking by and just being a smart aleck and throwing something mad at me, why does that anger me so much? Or, you know, why did the passing of somebody else's husband or whatever send me into the depths of despair?
Right.
Why do I feel so lonely? What is it?
Why am I so resentful?
Why do I believe I need to come do this? This is another one I get. Oh yeah, Cam, I could benefit, but I just can't afford it. And then I ask them, okay, how much have you spent in the last week binging? Or how much have you spent going
To the bar,
to bar or going wherever?
casino. Yeah.
And you start adding it up. We had a lady here a couple months ago. I sat and was astounded. She said, when I added up, I spent $27,000, and half of it probably went uneaten because I'd eaten a binge, I'd numb out, I'd come out of it, and I'd be like, So I trashed the rest of it.
Sure. Guilt, shame,
All of
feelings, right?
those, all of those.
Well, it's, and when you talk about a lot of it doesn't matter what the substance is. What I've heard time and time again is it's the hole in the soul. Talk to me a little bit about what that means. The core pain. If
I
you,
think if someone's honest, even though some of us were blessed enough to come out of pretty healthy homes, I think honestly, all of us have losses from childhood that we wish we would have done different. Then there are those of us that grew up in very dysfunctional, sometimes abusive homes. But that hole in the soul is trying to fill this up by reaching out and bringing it in. Overspending. I'm going to get online and order every product from the what's the network? Don't,
QVC.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's going to make me feel better. And then you get it home, and I know people that have spent God knows how much money, and it's still in the boxes,
Yeah,
sitting in their garage.
I feel so seen.
There you go. It's going and okay, I'm going to join every PTO, PTA, whatever it's called now, and I'm going to be out there and I'm going to do, and everybody's going to think, oh, look at Cam and everything she's doing. And I get home and I'm empty, but I reach out trying to make myself feel good and feel those losses. You've got, that's an outside in job. It's got to be an inside out job. Now, again, back to my belief system. That's where it's got to start with me and the God of my understanding. It's got to be that personal spiritual walk, not a religious walk, a spiritual walk. I, in my upbringing, was taught religion. My mother did a very good job of teaching us the difference. And what I learned as I have evolved in my life, a church is brick and mortar made up of people that make up the rules. Some of those rules don't apply to the way I believe.
Yeah, me neither.
Now I still attend a church. And church to me is like that of the 12 steps. Stay with me on this. It is going where you have people of like beliefs that you can feel seen, not judged. And well, I'm getting kind of sidebarring here,
It's okay.
but within churches, a lot of times we're judged because we're not checking off the rule book. I don't think that's my God. I think my God's more loving than that.
And you don't have to believe in
No,
anything.
you don't have to believe in anything to come through these doors. That's the thing. You know, people with wounds are people with wounds. I am here initially, and I think this is true of our staff. If you will, this is our mission field to help people heal from those wounds, whatever they may be, and move forward in their life so it's more harmonious, it's more joyful. They learn to have that self-acceptance of self. They learn to have belief that they are worth things. I alluded to that earlier. Oh yeah, Kim, I'd really benefit from it, but I'm just not worth it. Baloney. BS. Why not? We have a foundation set up. There are really people that can't afford it. Let's be honest about
sure.
it. Especially in today's times, there's uncertainty, not know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow, whatever. But 80% of the time, if they believed in themselves and they believed they were worth it, they will come. And then and you don't have to believe me.
Right.
Call me. I'll give you the names of 15 people that you can call, and I always try to match up those with similar challenges. But what they got out of it, don't believe me. Yeah, all I know is Shades of Hope. I came into this business not knowing anything, nothing. I started as a tech, which just means I make sure you're abiding by the guidelines during my shift.
Right. You're
And you,
watching, bed
and
watching,
you
you're,
don't
yeah,
run off with
right.
God's grace. And some of you that might hear there might have been those that ran off and chased down the street. Who knows? But as the last 28 years and what it comes down to, I can only speak for myself. I think I speak for the rest of the staff. It is about meeting, just what you said, where people are in the moment with their uncertainties, their longings to be loved, their longings to be accepted. And I'm going to tell you, I love everybody. In my faith base, I love everybody in my God. But I like some people more than I like others. Like some people don't like me, but they tolerate me. That's people.
Yeah.
But I'm here to serve. I am here while you are here, and even after you leave, to do my best to accommodate, to direct, to welcome. That's the reason I tell people, if you fly into the airport, once you get to Abilene Regional, you're mine. If you drive and you drive up to the front door, you're mine for the time you're here. And all I mean by that is your job is to confront yourself, which is the scariest, and all those things you've tried to lock the door on in the closet. My job is to take care of the rest.
Yes, and back to the distractions. Part of what my experience was here, and I'm a frequent flyer. We'll tell that story, sometime
In
as
a
well
minute.
in a minute. But as a frequent flyer, what I was so unfamiliar about and felt so guilty about was I didn't have to serve back that week. There wasn't anybody that was looking at me going, okay, I'll give you this, but I'm going to need this. If everything felt like a transaction in my life at that point where we were there to serve and then we overserved and couldn't say no and I lost boundaries. I just said yes to everything and then was real mad when I was sitting by myself, mad because all these other people that I were helping were enjoying their weekend and I was busting my tail to get what they wanted. And what I realized by coming to Shades is that I can't want it more than they do.
That's right.
If they want help, that's great, but I can't also rescue. And then I didn't think I was mad. Okay?
Yeah.
So, hidden anger was one of the subjects that we talked about early on. And hidden anger can show up like procrastination. So, there's a lot of people diagnosed with a lot of things out there that we won't mention in here. But how much of it is hidden anger versus, a core issue? We can't decide that, but all you're doing is you're offering people a week without any distractions to figure it out.
Yeah, to unpack their shit.
To unpack,
unpack your stuff. And the other thing about it, and I was asked this recently. Well, Cam, you seem to always have it so together. No, I have to unpack my crap all the time. I still have those old feelings and things I've just learned over the years. No, that's not mine to take on. That's theirs to take on. I
it's
find
so
that
hard.
Oh, and I find it to this day so difficult with my son. He is a young man married. To set those boundaries.
Shout out to Maddie.
Yes. God, I love that woman. But they're living their life. And when they ask, I will do my best to help, but it is not my job to rush in. That's hard for us. And that is a learned behavior that we have to unlearn, to rush in and rescue, because they didn't ask us to.
Well, that's how I got here, frankly. I mean, I was rushing in and rescuing all over the place.
And that word is?
Codependency.
And a lot of us don't know what it is. We do something for someone, and we think we're doing it out of service. But then 3 days later, we'll ask them to do something for us and they don't. And we go right into, well, I did this for you last Sunday and you're not going to do this for me today? You heifer.
I am frustrated, is what people will say. Not angry, because I mean, like you said, in some households it wasn't okay to be angry. So people are walking around, trying not to be angry with a lot of other things. And of course, I want to be kind and helpful. And so that was a learning experience, was to learn was to learn the boundaries around both. I could still be helpful, but not overextend myself to the point where I was working harder than they were
Exactly.
on their problem. And then I'm mad at everybody because nobody's sorting it out themselves. And the codependency is a real thing. So, and that's sort of what we're trying to create online is those aha moments that people get in Buffalo Gap. You can still come here and get those moments because the need is great, and you will give yourself no bigger gift than to walk in the door. Secondarily to that, or supplemental to that, we've got the online program.
Exactly. And that speaks to what we've said. If our mission statement is to be true, to provide avenues of help and healing to the many, we're capped because some people can't make it to Buffalo Gap. But at $20, $30 a month to cover our expenses and things of developing this over so many years, and we can offer that to somebody, and the next wave is to offer a weekly support group that is specific to those that are working through some of the programming. Now, we already have community events and,
Which are no charge.
yeah, that I do a Tuesday night community chat. You can get on top of anything you want, a place to dump. And the people that participate, they have that right too. The other thing we do every Wednesday morning is Tenny Talk. And if Tenny can't do it because she's facilitating an intensive or she's traveling, then you get the opportunity to hear cam chats.
You said you've been doing this work for how long?
I've been here, I think, right at 28 years.
And what was your profession prior to this?
I was a teacher and coach,
Of?
volleyball. My job at the home and school I was at, I got to do everything. I got, as far as coaching, volleyball, basketball, track, you name it, we got to do it. All those young women fell under my purview.
And your job was to coordinate a team.
No,
What was your job?
my job at the home was to love my kids. At times I was their disciplinarian. At times I was their parent. At times I could be their best friend. And I think that's when God brought, and I do believe God brought me here. And I keep going back to what I do today is serve. I serve. I am here to help others heal in their life. And it's been a long journey because I've had to go through a lot of my own healing as things evolved here. Yeah, 20 years ago, even you would ask me, what did I do? And I would tell you, yeah, my job is to put a product out on the court. My job is to win. And I was mad that I missed a state tournament by one match and, considered myself a failure because I didn't make that pinnacle of success. But then Facebook came along. And I can't say I'm in touch with every kid that I ever coached. But there are those core that I know I made a difference in their lives. I served them. I healed that longing they had. And it's not about me. I was just the instrument, again, in my faith that God used to get them through a difficult time in their life. That's what I do here today.
And what does success look like for you? Like, how can you tell that the program is working?
Oh, man. For me or for the people that we serve?
I would like to know what moment you know that what is the biggest joy that comes out of this job for you? Because a lot of it is very much like nursing or very much like a teacher where the passion has to come and it has to sustain you because it's emotionally taxing at times.
When someone who you did not think you had that much to do with while their time was here.
Mhm.
They email you or they messenger you, and it's 15 years later, and they go back and they tell you that one act of kindness. I know your life was going to hell in a handbasket outside of here,
Mhm.
but when you came to work, when you came into the office, you were always that good morning.
Mhm.
You were consistent. I'd never experienced that kind of consistency and consideration.
Mhm.
When you have those come back, I had a woman, we were out here working on our air conditioner, and she drove up
Oh,
one
I was here that
afternoon
day. Yeah.
and she stopped and she was in one of those Tesla whatever cars. And I thought, oh my God, who's coming? And she stepped out and I was just like, oh my God. And she was just like, Cam, it's those embraces. You know, it hadn't been perfect since she left Shades.
Mhm.
It never was perfect.
Mhm.
But what she got here was how to take care of herself. Her wounds began healing, those things. Those are what you come to work for. And
Yeah.
sometimes you never hear from people,
Sure.
but those you do.
Mhm.
Yep, that's why I was here that day.
Yeah. Well, and I was happened to be standing there at the
Hmm.
time, and
Hmm.
she came up and she was stunned to see you outside, and I thought, what a gift to her, to be able to just drive by. I think that was the notion, right? Is just
Yeah,
drive by, and then all of a sudden to be invited in to look at the place and to, oh my gosh, yes, I totally remember you. I think she was impressed that. I think everyone that comes through leaves an impression.
absolutely.
And the hope is that the lessons will be the lessons and that they'll stay in the community and they'll have a perfect, whatever. You leave out of here in a pink cloud because you dropped all your crap in Buffalo Gap. And then you go home and all of the different things start happening that happened before you left. And your reaction needs to be different. And you don't know what to do with those feelings, which is why community was created.
Yeah, that's the reason we created that Tuesday night, and had someone here last month for the intensive, and she got on community Tuesday night, and I was just like, "You look tired." She said, "I'm exhausted. I don't understand why. I'm exhausted. It's hard. Any time there is change, good, bad, or indifferent, you're changing the way you think. That is exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
When you're learning to react different, and sometimes you want to spout off and you have to pull it back and consciously stop before it becomes habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It is mentally taxing. It's kind of I equate it to going through a life changing, because it is a life changing event.
it is.
Like, let's say you get a call, God forbid, and someone you know and love about has been in a major car accident, and you click into that hyper vigilant, and your focus and everything is there, and you have to stay on for 3, 4, 5 days, and then you wonder why you just crashed.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
But you've got to have people that understand that, and it's okay.
And is it okay to crash, mess up, and come back?
Absolutely. I don't know if you tell me you've gone anywhere, here, I don't care where,
Mm-hmm.
and you haven't run up against something that you didn't know how to handle, or maybe, oh, I proclaimed I was a sugar addict, but I ate that Reese's peanut butter cup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I've relapsed. I might as well just throw it all to hell.
Right.
No, no. What led up to it? Or perhaps cut yourself some slack. It's okay.
Yeah.
Go on. I'm not telling you to go back to Dollar General and buy the whole case of them, but okay.
Yeah. And now what? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No. And then we do have our frequent flyers that maybe they have several behaviors, that they've got to deal with. Well, it's like anything else we're told, break them down. into small steps. Well, you can't address everything at once, but what you can address is that core that's underneath all those behaviors. Maybe I'm still going out and jogging an hour a day, but perhaps I'm not twisting off on my family. And now you see, oh, that hour a day is turning into 2 hours a day, and now I'm using that to avoid my family. You might need to come back and do some of that. Or perhaps something's coming up that your subconscious wasn't ready to reveal because you weren't strong enough to deal with it.
Right.
That happens more than not.
Where you take care of kind of the first layer and then the other layers start popping up. And the way I've heard that described is whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
So what happens in a scenario like that? Somebody calls back and maybe they're not in the alcohol, but maybe they've gotten into something different.
Come back, let's talk about it. Or, okay, it's called, for our terminology, it's called switching addictions, switching behaviors.
Yes.
You know, it's because you're still looking for something out there to come fill this in here. That means all the work hasn't been done in here.
It should be an indicator,
Yeah.
like an early indicator. If you've got feelings and they're coming up, especially around family events, family stuff, family dynamics, time to come back because you can't change the people around you. You can maybe influence them, maybe, but you can't change the people around
But you got to take care of you first. That's the other big thing. Oh, my husband isn't changing. My mother's not changing. They're still acting like yahoos. Well, why should they change? It isn't about them. Do your thing. Leave them alone. Yeah, you have to interact with them, but quit making them about them. It's about you. And that's, again, another course, boundaries and confrontations. You've got to set the boundary.
Yeah.
That is not mine to take on. That is theirs to take on.
And, sometimes it means you don't necessarily have to put yourself in that position if you have a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Correct.
And you have to do it. But what the program teaches you is ways to cope with that. A community that is, bar none, some of my favorite people on the planet have come out of a Shades Week. And when you come in on a Sunday and you introduce yourself as, "Hi, my name's Chrissy," it gets real interesting real quick. And when you take that level of surface off, how alike a lot of people are. And so some of my wonderful friends aren't in the same age group I'm in. And these people are my life.
Yeah.
And so talk about the miracle of that.
To me, it's like when I sit there on a Sunday and everybody introduces. Of course, I've talked to everybody, so I kind of know some of the backstories. And I tell people, I kind of play this game within of, ooh, why are these people specifically here for this week? To learn from each other or to teach each other? Or maybe to poke the bear a little bit sometimes. But to me, it's kind of like, hi, I'm Cam. And then from there, you take, and it's like a face peel, only ours is a heart peel, a soul peel. And you begin to peel the mask. And what we learn is every one of us have those hurts, those soul hurts, those things, and we talk about the miracle. People say, what makes Shades so different? I think for the staff and the people that work here directly with people, it's our brute honesty about where we've come, what we've been through, about our lives, about our journeys. It's not just something we preach. I mean, the joke around here is now I get to go to family meetings. I am part of the family that owns this place. I get to go to family meetings.
You practice what you preach.
Yeah, we do. We know how difficult it is. It's not something we're just telling you, well, I think you ought to go do this because this is what the manual says. No, it's that heartfelt, this is why. This is why. And between all of us, there's not anything I can think of that we might suggest or recommend that we individually or we as a family haven't had to do ourselves.
And what I loved about my initial interaction with Shades is that everybody's pretty blunt, honest about their issues. And hey, I'm a recovering insert whatever. And they lead by example with saying, I'm going to be vulnerable. I hope you do too. Because to get the fullness out of the week, if you're in the distractions and if you bring 8 books to read or if you bring your phone to scroll, you will never get to the core because the distractions will keep you stuck. And that is where by day 3, you can keep it together for day 1 pretty good. I heard from a friend. But when you're doing day 1 and you walk in and you're like, okay, I'm on, it's full of joy, full of joy. Everybody's got joy day 1 day. And then you start taking the devices away. And first of all, for those that don't think food is a substance, what happens when you take the food away from somebody at an intensive?
Talk about becoming irritable, angry, and discontent.
They're,
You
they're
know,
looking to fill up and
they're
they're
looking,
not getting that.
that's right, they're not getting that. I just tell people, especially if you know, and I use alcohol because all of us know somebody.
Hmm.
You tell them they get a shot of whiskey in the morning, a shot in the afternoon, a shot at dinner, and perhaps a shot before they go to bed. Where is their entire focus going to be for the day?
If they don't have it, they're looking to where to get it next.
That's what you do with someone with the food. The difference in the divergence is every one of us have to eat to survive. I don't have to drink or use drugs. But when you start taking away that legal substance of food, if they're a binge eater, compulsive overeater, or you take that anorexic, that restrictor, that person that is very specific and OCD about what they eat, and we tell them it's clean food, which means we don't put a lot of additives or grease or fat or any of that into
Because
it.
you cook that week for them,
Yeah,
which is a huge gift.
just eat it.
Yeah, just eat it.
Just
Just fuel.
just eat it. Yeah, you're putting gas in the tank. Just eat it. And to ask them to let go of that control or to sit and see that compulsive overeater that it takes me 20 minutes to eat a meal and their plate is clean in 3. Slow it down because we're going to sit here until everybody is finished eating.